flowery bed of ease. If I deceive you that there is such religion, then I will be wrong. I will be a witchcraft to bewitch you so to believe. And so under the sacrifice, under the spirit of the great benevolence, Christ is saying that wherever the gospel, the three angels' message is to be preached, then it must be accompanied by the spirit of sacrifice. If you find any statement in the Bible of spirit of prophecy that negates this statement, then in the afternoon, please, just find me, bid me come, and let me know. Because one word of the Savior cannot be used to negate the another statement of the Savior. He says that wherever this gospel, whenever you go to take the three angels' message to other people, then it must be accompanied by the spirit of self-sacrifice. You must love more God than you love yourself. You must love other souls more than you love yourselves. But today we love more of ourselves, and we ask, what will happen to me if I save other souls? What will happen to the school fee that my children are going to have in their schools if I save other souls somewhere in? That is the question. It is no longer what will happen to them if I refuse to support them. What will happen to the poor if I fail to lend a hand of support? It is about me, myself, and I. And Christ is saying that the true propagator of the gospel must accompany your message with the great spirit of self-sacrifice. If it is not accompanied by that spirit, that everything is hogwash, drama, hula baloo, it is not the message. There are some that I've met who propagate the message, and they talk about the three angels' message. They talk about the beast. They talk about the trumpets. They talk about the seals. But you find them along the week I told you that, there are some even in this congregation, Pastor. If you closely come and listen to what the members will say, you will find that they are given a name. If they are family, they'll be called Mr. and Mrs. Stingy. Whenever you speak about any sacrifice in the church, they will quickly call an alternative church board to discuss whether the work should be supported or it shouldn't. And you see, from the face value, when they stand to speak, they are men and women of great wisdom until you compare them through the lenses of the Bible and spirit of prophecy. That's when you will realize that it is purely a lie that is only meant to camouflage like people of great intellect and wit. Yet, whatever they are talking about is simply demonstrating their covetousness and selfishness. I told you in the course of the week that, if you are to quickly give it a Godspeed, if you read the book of Mark chapter 14, if you quickly give it a Godspeed when you listen to Judas speaking, you will say Judas is a good man. And I need to remind you, comparing Judas and Peter, Judas was a great man. People would easily write off Peter and bid Judas to be a good man. Because Judas knew how to deliver the message to people, how to convince the people, whereas Peter was too casual and unlearned. And so the Bible knows the spirit of prophecy. You read the book Desire of Ages, there's a chapter that is entitled Judas. You read it through and you realize that by this Judas was able to convince many of the disciples that he was a good man. Even here in the congregation, there is somebody who is very covetous and selfish and hate through jealousy and envy. Hate people so much, even his God or her God. But when he speaks, you will give him good speed. You will choose him over God. When Judas stood to speak, the disciples, the Bible record that the disciples quickly bought the idea and they thought that Judas was right. Yet, when Christ stood up to speak, they realized that after all, Judas was not speaking some sense. I told you that sometimes there are people who will rise up to speak in our congregation, and you will think that whatever they are talking about makes some sense until you realize it is not sensible enough. Because the book of John chapter 12 verse 6 tells us that Judas was not talking about supporting the poor because he loved them, but because he was a thief. And the Bible continues to share that he was a thief, he was in charge of the coffers, and whenever the money for the poor was to be put in the coffers, Judas would leak out the money and help himself. There is a thought that was almost coming, but the Spirit has told me not to share it. Friends, the Bible gives an understanding that the spirit of self-sacrifice is the spirit that is to accompany the message. Whenever the church of God, that is the Donholm Church, you go out for any mission at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, one thing that is coming out boldly, that in your messages, it must be accompanied by the spirit of self-sacrifice. People give not because they have, but because they are sacrificing for the cause of the master. If you are able to give because you can comfortably give, then it is not from your heart. Whatever you give for the master must be that which is given through self-sacrificial. You are able to sacrifice it from down deep your heart. That's when it constitutes a sacrifice of worship. If you feel that you can only support the work that Elder was talking about here because you have money, then you need to think twice. We don't give because we have. We give because we are already given. If you look at the book of Mark chapter 12, I just want to quickly take you Mark chapter 12. I just want to read the story of this widow and her mite, which we just read in the book of Luke. And I like the way Mark puts it in a little bit better than how we read it in Luke. It is the same story, but it is just that the wording is a little bit different. It gives you more of an emphasis on how much the sacrifice of that woman was. Mark chapter 12, 41 through 44, it says, "And Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how people cast money into the treasury." You know, Christ insisted, even when people are coming up front here, Christ is somewhere. I don't know, how many saw him? Let me ask, how many saw Christ somewhere? Hello? How many saw Christ somewhere here? When people even were giving, how many saw him? You mean you didn't see him? How many saw him? Let me tell you, you saw him. And do you know why it is very dangerous to assume that you didn't see him? It is said in the book of Matthew chapter 25, when there are two groups, one on the right hand side, which is sheep, left hand side. The right hand side, Christ says that I was naked and you did what? You clothed me. I was hungry and you fed me. Then they would say, when did we see you naked or hungry or you are in prison and we did this to you? Then what was the answer of Christ? What was his response? Inasmuch as you did it to the least of your brethren, then you did it to me. Somebody saw you as you are sacrificing for the master. There are certain things that you cannot hide. Even your life, your private life, you may think it is not known, but somebody representing Christ knows it. You know, many of us are saying that they can do some certain things in privacy, and they think they can just go scot-free. But I want to tell you that wheresoever you goeth, the God we serve is there, in the person of the person who watches over you. Now let me tell you, Do you know that there are certain things you cannot deceive people about? How you can support the cause, what was that cause? For the work down here, right? Do you know there are people who know and they represent God? You know, I'm reading this text of Mark 12. They represent God. Where you are paid your salaries, that those payroll masters, they know how much you earn. Those who work in the bank know how much gets into your account. Those that buy the goods and services from you know how much the turnover in your business. They know. Now, if here on earth, where people are mortal and sinful, you cannot say that somebody does not know. At least there is somebody who knows. What about God in heaven? I took you to the book of Education, page 144. Could be paragraph 1, 2, or 3, but it's 144. It says that there is the unseen what? Unseen what? Auditor. The one whose eyes never palliates any evil. The one who knows and he sees even things that are hidden. Every transaction he sees and he knows. He is unseen auditor. He knows every action, everything that we indulge in. He knows. And so Christ, this text is telling us that he beheld how people cast money into the treasury, and many that were rich cast in much. That is the statement. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which made a farthing. And he called unto his disciples, and he said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast more in. You know, Christ was watching those people who had money. They will give their thousands, you see. And you know, if you have a fund drive, have you ever had a fund drive in the church here? Let me talk about something you've seen, the witchcraft that is here in the church. When people come and begin to give them the fund drive, I will come quietly and give my 100 shillings. Very few of you will notice whether I've given. Very few of you will notice whether I've given. But somebody will come and Elder Moy says, so and so has given us 500,000. What do you expect to be the response? A bigger amen. People will be celebrating. But I want to give you contrary the spirit that we read. The spirit that we read in the book of Mark, chapter 12. Christ was right there next to the chest. And people are giving, the rich gave so much, the Bible record. But then, the Bible also record that there came a certain poor widow. She threw in 2 mites. And then Christ called the disciples and said, hey men, come. There is something that is happening around. You may fail to notice my giving for the master, but I'm happy that Christ is seeing the worship. He recognizes it. I want to remind somebody here and to encourage somebody here. Do not shrink from serving the master just by mere how people will judge you or look at how you are serving. Many gave into the coffer and Christ saw, but he did not recognize. Until came a certain poor widow who gave sacrificially from down deep her heart. It was just 2 mites, but it was a sacrifice. It was a worship. Christ did recognize it. I want to tell you that if all of us in the church will give sacrificially for the cause of the master, even 100 shillings only or 50, then elder will not stand here to call for harambe. I tell you, that one is the truth down deep my heart. If all of us will give sacrificially, not because you have much, but because you love the cause of the master, if all of us will just say we will be giving 50 shillings only, regularly, then the church will not lack to promote the giving. It is because covetousness has taken in the church and we become Mr. and Mrs. Stingy to an extent that we want to be praised to give. You want your name to be mentioned to give. You want us to compose a song for you to give. And by so, many are beguiled and lost. Christ called unto his disciples and said to them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, based on how fat their pocket was. They just gave because they had money in their account. They just gave because they have an extra as compared to what they are going to spend on 25th. So they only gave the excess of what they are going to spend in their families. But this widow gave because she gave for the cause she loved. How many of us are giving for the cause we love, not because we are pressed to give? That is what Christ is handling here. That is what Christ is saying here. That it is impossible to tell people that you love the poor, but you hate Christ and his cause. It is not possible. He's saying that it is impossible to say that you love the master, but you don't love the cause of the master. He's saying wherever this gospel shall be preached, then it must be accompanied by the spirit of the message. You know, there are people who always live here for the camp meeting and for the week of prayer, but the church here is starving because they don't support. Church back here is starving, Elder Mwai. The church is starving, but you always hear them, they preach in other churches, they talk, they talk so much, but you go back to the church where they're rooted in, Donholm Church, they rarely support. That is witchcraft. In fact, it is drama. All the sermons, better than all the sermons that you can preach is a well-ordered life that is accompanied by the spirit of self-sacrifice. Here in the story of this lady that we've just read, these two mites, in our in our today's world, we can call them shillings, 2 shillings. She had 2 shillings. And of themselves, they don't, if they didn't count much. But the Bible says that it was all her living. Everything this woman had, she cast into the treasury. Now, if you are struggling with that statement, then if you are with us in the course of the week, you will realize that we said that the true giving is the giving where your heart first get into the treasury chest, then your giving follows. When your giving goes and then your heart struggles to follow your giving, there is a problem. Christ must first be put in the heart. He must be deeply rooted and thrown in our hearts so that when we give as an act of worship. The problem of our giving today is our heart is poor. Our heart is full of poverty. But we are giving anyway. Judas is saying that how I wish this giving could have been, this ointment could have been given to the poor. Yet Judas himself was poor in heart, miserable, blind, was completely desperate. Yet he was talking about the poor somewhere else. The true benevolence begins from your own heart. If our hearts are given to Christ, then how we support other people will not be a problem. That's what Christ is saying here. I just want to read a quote from the book Desire of Ages, just to emphasize on this story. Christ emphasized the giving of this lady, that it was worth more in the sight of heaven because it was accompanied by the great sacrifice. And that which the Pharisees gave didn't really hurt them. It did not pinch them. They were giving because they had an excess. So anyway, they did not feel the pain. But Christ is saying this woman is hurt as she gives. She's pinched as she gives. It is the spirit of self-sacrifice. You give because you love the cause. You know, the way we support our children because we love them. Even though you feel like you are drained, your energies are drained, you go work outside there, you do a lot. But when you come into the house, because you as the mother or as the father, you prepare the food for your family as a sign of great sacrifice, because you are sacrificing for the cause you love. You are not, you are doing it, you are so much tired, you are fatigued, you are worn out. But because you are doing it for the cause you love for your children, you are sacrificed. That's what Christ is talking about. That our giving is not supposed to be because we have an abundance, but we give for the cause we love. Do you love the cause of God? Do you love the cause of God? Desire of Ages, page 614. This is what it says. From paragraph 4. Jesus was in the court where were the treasure chests, and he watched those who came to deposit their gifts. Many of the rich brought large sums, which they presented with great ostentation. Jesus looked upon them sadly, but made no comment on their liberal offerings. Presently, his countenance lighted as he saw a poor widow approach, hesitatingly, as though fearful of being observed. As the rich and the empty swept by to deposit their offerings, she shrank back as if hardly daring to venture further. And yet she longed to do something, a little though it might be, for the cause she loved. She looked at the gift in her hand. It was very small in comparison with the gifts of those around her. Yet it was her all. Watching her opportunity, she hurriedly threw in her 2 mites and turned to hasten away. But in doing this, she caught the eye of Jesus, which was fastened earnestly upon her. The Savior called his disciples to him and bade them mark the widow's poverty. Then his words of commendation fell upon her ear. Of a truth I say unto you, this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she felt that her act was understood and appreciated. Friends, I want to tell you, my elders, that some of the church members here have their tears rolling down when they sacrifice for the cause of this church, but they are not appreciated, Ella Charen. Some of them are coiled from supporting because we estimate by the abundance, not the heart in which they give. And some of us, Pastor read a statement here, that if you work tirelessly to deceive or to make astray the young ones, then better a millstone is tied round your neck and you are thrown deep into the sea. There are some of us here who are like little children. They are like babes in the walks of faith. We've made them stray in the cause they love by the virtue that we fail to appreciate what they are doing for the Master. I love how this lady's heart was buoyed, and she said that if Christ can recognize my 2 mites, then I will continue for the cause I love. She was not disappointed, because whereas other men and women refused to recognize whatever she gave, she was happy that the Master was right there next to the chest, who appreciated her. I want to encourage you once again that some of us may not be appreciated by men and women here on earth because of what you are doing. It could be in your place of work. You always give your best, but you have this boss, in quote, who always work tirelessly not to appreciate you. And you are almost giving up, and you are saying that you will not give your best. Before you do that, know that even in whichever capacity, we talk about this in the course of the week when we are talking about talents, that the Lord has talented us in any way, be it spiritual gifts or the natural endowments. He has given you chance to serve humanity. And when you coil because your boss does not appreciate you, remember that you are not serving for the cause you love. There is somebody who's going, there is somebody who's going to suffer because you have failed to serve, just simply because your boss has failed to appreciate you. Serve for the cause you love. Leave the consequences with God. I told some church sometimes back, just recently, that do you know those people who always come and prepare us for us the chairs we've sat on? Recently I spoke to some youths, and they were saying that they have been hurting the church, and so they will not leave the church, but they will come. When they come, they will come after lesson, they will sit down, after sermon, they will leave and go back. They want peace of mind. Then I quickly told them, what you say is true. You are responding from, the heart. You are hurting in your heart. It is true. But remember, when you leave your house or your home, you come to the church at 10 and you leave at midday and you go. Have you asked yourself, who opened the doors of this church for you to get in? Who ensured that that seat you are seated in is without any dust? Who ensured that the entire house is well lighted and it is aerated to an extent that you cannot be deceased? Who is this foolish mama or baba who ensured that everywhere is clean to support you? Have you ever asked yourself who ensured that these seats are well, arranged and they are all clean so that you don't suffer? I tell you verily, verily, some of us leave the church with curses. You think that father to somebody, that mother to somebody is a slave or foolish to do it so that you can just come and rest on it? Do you think those who come and ensure the church is clean, they are foolish? Or we higher than them in terms of the thinking and intellect? Are we strong intellectually than those who always give their all to do this work for us? Then why do you think that your work is only come and sit and you leave? That's why there are some families who have served this church and God has exalted them highly. We transfer our blessing to some families and we come to the church and we say, I've been going to the church and I'm the same. We are the one transferring our blessing to other people. And they will gladly take to the sixth, to the fourth, the 10th generation, while yours will always remain and stagnate. Just want to plead with somebody who is at the verge of saying that I don't care what takes place in the church. Mine is to go and listen to the sermon. Sermon is hogwash if it does not transform our hearts. What I'm talking about here on this pulpit does not make sense if it does not change the way we behave and we do things. Better one act of love than thousands of sermons that are given. It does not make sense to heaven if we sermonate day in, day out, but our lives remain unchanged. I'm talking to somebody. Please beware. There is somebody who always sacrifices the sleep to ensure that this church is well arranged the way it is. Support them. If you can't come in the morning because you are suffering from allergy, support them so that you strengthen their hands to continue with the work. Do not use them like used tissue, which is very important when you go to the toilet, but upon using it, you drop it. Some of us use fellow believers like tissues here in the church. I want to remind you, that daddy, that mama who prepare for us this house is a husband, is a wife to somebody, and their children so love them. Don't think they are foolish. Support them. Support them. Christ is saying, Jesus said of the poor widow, she hath cast in more than they all. The rich have bestowed from their abundance, many of them to be seen and to be honored by men. Their large donations have deprived them of no comfort and even luxury. They had required no sacrifice and could not be compared in value with the widow's mite. And Christ continued by saying, when Jesus said of the widow, she hath cast in more than they all, his words were true, not only of the motive, but of the result of her gift. The 2 mites which make a farthing have brought in God's treasury an amount of money far greater than the contributions of the rich Jews. The influence of that little gift has been like a stream, small in its beginning, but widening and deepening as it flowed down through the ages. And I tell you, friends, in 1,000 ways it has contributed to the relief of the poor and spread the gospel. Her example of self-sacrifice has acted and reacted upon the thousands of hearts in every land and in every age. It has appealed both to the rich and the poor, and their offering have swelled in value of her gift. And God's blessing upon the widow's mite has made it the source of great results. So with every gift bestowed and every act performed with a sincere desire for God's glory, it is linked with the purpose of omnipotence. It results for good. It results for good no man can measure. Beloved, we're looking at the story of this widow. That story, that transaction that took place right before Christ in the house of Simon the leper. He coupled that message, the experience of benevolence, the act of great self-sacrifice, with the message wherever we take it. We are told very clearly that this woman here, she wanted to support the cause that she loved. Because she loved the cause, she was willing to give everything for the glory of God. So friends, I just want to conclude by just taking you to that text, Mark 14 verse 9. Christ says, Mark 14 verse 9, he says, verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached throughout the world, this also that she hath done shall be spoken of for a memorial of her. And friends, I took you through the plot that this was taking place in the house of somebody by the name Simon the leper. Simon had suffered from leprosy. And you know, in the history of the lepers, they were not accepted where people were. They were always secluded because they were stinking. And nobody would dare even greet the leper because of the fear of getting the leprosy. This is the man whom God saved and brought and gave a second chance to mingle with men. The spirit of prophecy says that at one point, Simon was also led to think that Mary was a sinner, and Christ, being the prophet or the Messiah, should have known that Mary was a sinner and should not have, interacted with her. Now look at it. Simon the leper, a man that is greatly favored by Christ and is given the favor to come once again to sit with the people. He could not even sit with his own people because of leprosy. He is now busy casting aspersion on the lady Mary, whom equally the Lord has favored and given another chance to live in the society. That is the irony of our worship. All of us are gods by the virtue of creation and redemption. All of us desire to serve God. And all of us want a steady form, an equal platform to serve our God. But there are some in our midst here who are more animal or more human than the other. And they feel that others need not to worship the Lord in that same manner. Simon, in his heart, he thought that because Christ had, cured him, healed him, he needed to say thank you to Christ. Mary equally, because Christ had pardoned her, had healed the brother Lazarus, she also felt that she needed to tell Christ, thank you. Two sinners coming to Christ, yet one sinner sees the other as more sinful than the other. That is the story. That is our story in the church today. The book of Luke 18:18 says, nevertheless, when the Son of Man shall come on earth, shall he find what? Faith. The Lord is calling for the faithful. The Lord is calling for those who will always or constantly ask that their faith will be increased. Faith is not going to differentiate the people of the earth from his children. Christ is coming. He is looking for the people of faith. Not for the people that say they have faith. Not the people that just merely preach faith. He is coming for the people that have and demonstrate that same faith. In the close, I want to read this particular quote as I close. That is from the book, volume 2, Testimonies, page 196. Page 196, volume 2, Testimonies for the Church, page 196. I always love you write this so that you confirm if what I was reading is rightly so. Here is the statement. It says, I have been shown that God's people who profess to believe the present truth are not in waiting, watching position. They are increasing in riches and are laying up their treasure upon the earth. They are becoming rich in worldly things, but not rich towards God. They do not believe in the shortness of time. They do not believe that the end of all things is at hand, that Christ is at the door. They may profess much faith, but they deceive their own souls, for they will act out all the faith that they really possess. Their works show the character of their faith and testify to those around them that the coming of Christ is not to be in this generation. According to their faith will be their works. Their preparations are being made to retain this world. They are adding house to house, land to land, and citizens of this world. The conditions of poor Lazarus feeding upon the crumbs from the rich man's table is preferably that of these professors. If they professed genuine faith, instead of increasing their treasures upon the earth, they would be, freeing themselves from the cumbersome things of earth and transferring their treasure before them to heaven. Then their interests and their hearts will be there. The heart of the man will be where the treasure, for the heart of man will be where his greatest treasure is. Most of those who profess to believe the truth testify that which they value most is in the world. For this they have care and wearying anxiety, and labor to preserve and to add their treasure in the study of their life. Friends, I want to ask you this afternoon, considering the spirit of the message, think over the things that you have gone throughout the week and even this afternoon. Considering that the message is called by Christ, this gospel, about the three angels' message is to go to the whole world. This gospel is to be accompanied by the spirit of sacrifice. I've shown you in the book of Luke 21 the story of the widow's mite. It was shown in Matthew 26 and also now in chapter 14 of Luke. It is the story of Mary and the alabaster box. That this gospel must be accompanied by the spirit of self-sacrifice. I want you to picture Mary. She is surrounded by all these great disciples of Christ. We see Simon the leper, who was just healed of leprosy, on the side of Christ. On the other side, we see Lazarus seated. Mary was looking straight away at the one who showed much love to her, and she desired to sacrifice for the cause that she loved. I want you to think about how Mary looked at Jesus. She saw the one who will die in just 2 days, where disciples looked at the one who will exalt them to the throne. I want you to look at the heart and the desire of Mary, that she desired to emphasize in some way her love for Christ and to give the sacrifice for herself. And she was willing to give what she had laid for her living for the entire life, for the cause of the Master. And friends, the question is, would this be you? Will you set aside some of your wants, even like this widow and Mary? Maybe sometimes that you might, something which you might need for the cause of God. Christ says that kingdoms will rise and wane. Most famous men and women will come and disappear. But the works of Mary, the self-sacrifice, will forever remain. And the book of Mark 14:9 says that wherever the gospel will be preached, then the acts of Mary will be spoken of for memory of her. If you believe it, you may stand up with me. Heavenly Master, we stand before Thee in this afternoon, weak, blind, and miserable though we may be. But our hearts are encouraged this afternoon through this story that we read in the book of Mark chapter 14. That even though we are weak, we are miserable, and there is nothing that is so to desired in our hearts or in us, there is still something that we can do for your cause. Thank you for reminding us this week that wherever the gospel, the message of peace and love will be propagated, then it must be coupled with a spirit of self-sacrifice. That you so desire that your children will give for the cause that they love. Thank you for demonstrating to us, dear Lord, throughout the week, that in each person you've placed something that is of great substance. You only want us to exercise it. That's though there will be voices that will deride us, and with much indignation, that we may need to shrink and fail to come up front to your service, you give us this illustration as a type that Mary was not moved. She gave for the cause she loved. You're illustrating to us that there is somebody in this congregation who can equally do the same. There may be a withholding from some of us in the congregation, in our families, in our places of work. But Lord, help us, may increase our faith, that we will continue to serve you, though things may not be easy with us. May you bless us, both young and old. Remember us in your kingdom. If there be anything that we've done out of commission or omission, any wrong against our fellow brother or sister, Lord, I pray that you may forgive us. May your love reign supreme in our hearts, and may you help us to enthrone your Son, Jesus Christ, in our hearts, that we may deliver him to them that we will be interacting with. This afternoon, still bless us, your children, is our cry and desire. In Jesus' name.
Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
May I say this, please? As it was announced in the morning, today is a day that is dedicated to prayer and fasting. But if you must go, then we shall allow you to go. But I'm encouraging that we all remain so that we can seek the Lord's face in prayer and fasting. Only if you have to go, we shall give you a few minutes, or maybe if you want to go to the small rooms, you may go, and then make sure you come back immediately as we sing. Let's do song number 8, Elder. We'll give you 3 minutes if you must leave.
We gather together to ask the Lord's blessings.
It's just Please just move out in an orderly manner, without noise, please, because the service is still ongoing. I'm asking those at the back, if you must leave or greet, kindly move out. Number 8.
Song number 8 for those who are settling down.
We gather
Together to ask the Lord's blessings. His justice and husband's His will to make known.
the
wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praises to His name. He forgets not His own. Beside us to guide us, the God with us joining, ordaining, maintaining His kingdom divine. So from the beginning, the fight we were winning. The Lord was our side, all glory be thine. We all do extol thee, thou leader triumphant, and pray that thou still our defend our will be. Thy
congregation
escape tribulation, thy name be ever praised. O Lord, make us free.
Last last appeal, please, for those at the back. If you must greet, kindly move out of the sanctuary because the service is still ongoing. If you have to leave, please.
My Maker and my King, to thee my all I owe. Thy sovereign bounty is the spring whence all my blessings flow. Thy sovereign bounty is the spring whence all